hail, glorious Saint Patrick, dear saint of our isle, on us your poor children bestow a sweet smile. And now that you're high up in heaven above, on Erin's green valleys, look down with your love. On Erin's green valleys, on Erin's green valleys, on Erin's green valleys, look down with your love. Your people now exiles on many a shore shall love and revere you till time is no more, and the fire you have kindled shall ever burn bright, its warmth undiminished, undying its light. On Erin's green valleys, on Erin's green valleys, on Erin's green valleys, look down with your love. God bless and defend the sweet land of our birth, where the shamrock still blooms and it carpets the earth. Our hearts shall yet burn wherever we roam, for God and Saint Patrick and Erin our home. For God and Saint Patrick, for God and Saint Patrick, for God and Saint Patrick and Erin our home.
Céad míle fáilte. It means 100,000 welcomes. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Utica. My name is Kim Bywater, and I'm a member of the Worship Committee. Here in this place, all are welcome. All means all. Whoever you love, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your station in life, whatever faith traditions you have, if any, you are welcome here. With reverence, we recognize that we are standing on the ancestral ground of the Haudenosaunee people. Our speaker today is Mary McGuirl. Mary is a 10-year plus member of the church and is a past board member and president and past member of the Committee on Ministry. Currently, she serves on the membership committee and is coordinator of the Coffee Hour Ministry. Mary is happily retired from a long career in healthcare IT. Enormously proud of her 3 sons and 4 granddaughters, she is grateful for the opportunities to visit them in California and Virginia each year. Mary lives just up the road from the UU Church with her most affectionate feline friend, Beaker, who most of us have seen on Zoom. It is with gratitude that we gather together in this welcoming space. We have 3 announcements this morning. Ken, would you like to come up first?
Good morning. I coordinate the Social Justice Council here at UU Utica and a member of the Racial Justice Team, and also coordinating and chairing the Democracy Action Team. 2 announcements. First, Deborah Hagenbach and I are conducting a workshop tomorrow, one scheduled in the morning from 10 o'clock to 11:30, and the second in the evening from 6:30 until 8 o'clock for those of you who want to learn more about social justice work at UU Utica and to give input in the decision-making process as we move forward. Details are in the newsletter and in an invite I sent out yesterday via our church Breeze email account. And I must digress for a moment. I apologize to the worship committee for, there was some confusion as to the origin of the email in Breeze. I must have clicked the wrong button. That's all I can say. So it's supposed to have come from Social Justice Committee. I hope you all got it. Secondly, $545 was collected for UNICEF a couple of Sundays ago. Thank you to all who gave.
We have an announcement from Jean Perry.
Hi, I'm Jean. I asked to make this announcement several weeks ago, and I've agonized over it because in doing so, I have to break my own anonymity. I'd like to try to get a secular 12-step meeting going in this church and then perhaps expand it. I've been sober for over 30 years, and I found that hundreds of people that come into AA leave and don't stay because it's way too religious for them. But there's not a single 12-step program in this area. The closest one that's secular is Syracuse, or there's one in Lowville. So if there's any interest, you, a family member, a friend that you think might be interested, this is just an information gathering thing, just see me during coffee hour. I'm also going to put a little sign somewhere on a bulletin board with my name and number. If you want to be more confidential, please let me know. I've talked to Karen about this, and she's all for it if there's enough interest. Thank you so much.
And we have a stewardship announcement from Jack.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jack Pendrak. I just want to give an update on stewardship so far. We have a goal of $94,000, and as of this morning, we are up to $52,570. So we're about 54% of the way there, with 23 people pledging. So thank you very much, everyone who's pledged. We still have 40 odd people who have not yet pledged, and we have 2 more weeks before the end of the pledge drive. So we hope to get the pledges in sooner rather than later, but whenever is fine. We do have extra pledge cards that are in the back on the dresser in the back, and there's a pledge box right next to it. If you would like to pledge today and been putting it off, please fill out a card and put it in the box, and we'll take care of it from there. Thank you.
Our call to worship this morning is Come Sit by Our Fire by Jennifer Kitchen. Come sit by our fire and let us share stories. Let me hear your tales of far-off lands, wanderer, and I will tell you of my travels. Share your experience of the holy with me, worshiper, and I will tell you of that which I find divine. Come and stay, lover of leaving, for ours is no caravan of despair, but of hope. We would hear your stories of grief and sorrow as readily as those of joy and laughter, for there is a time and a place and a hearing for all the stories of this world. Stories are the breath and word of the Spirit of life, that power that we name love. Come, for our fire is warm and we have seats for all. Come again and yet again. Come speak to me of what fills your heart, what engages your mind, and what resides in your soul. Come, let us worship together. And our chalice lighting. We have the words Beacon of Freedom by Tracy Johnson. We kindle our chalice flame this morning, awakening the fire of our ancestors in our hearts. Beacon of freedom held out to light the way. light of reason illuminating the path, spark of courage igniting our spirits, aglow with hope for all we endeavor to do together. Holy flame of times past, brighten this present moment, that we may be the love that is our center and our foundation both. Blessed be. Our first hymn this morning is number 1051, We Are, in the Teal Hymnal.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises, sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
Well, happy St. Patrick's Day. It is a great day to be Irish. And by the looks of things out here, there would appear many are in a celebratory and a fine mood today. A fine day to honor St. Patrick. So, who was St. Patrick? St. Patrick was a missionary credited with bringing a new religion to a tiny island on the far west of Europe in the 5th century. There is absolutely nothing in that occurrence, nothing, that calls remotely for an international party day in his honor. Right? So how did we get here? The whole thing came from a collision of cultures. First, we got to say, what is a saint? Saints are people of great virtue, sometimes heroic, spiritual guides, sometimes mentors. In a religious context, they are believed to hold a privileged place with God in heaven. I suspect we all have heroes, spiritual guides, and mentors who live in a sacred place in our hearts. So my UU definition of a saint, with or without religious contexts, saints are our holy heroes. Surely my grandfather was my holy hero. But this morning, the hero du jour is St. Patrick, patron saint of Ireland. What did he do really? Ireland actually has two patron saints, Patrick and Bridget. Now, from the earliest times, Ireland had a religious and legal system organized by the Druids called Brehon law. And the Druids were the higher educated tier of Celtic society, the poets, historians, doctors, spiritual leaders. And the Druids believed that spiritual truth is found in nature and that all things are interconnected. Does that sound familiar to UUs? It should. Irish culture has had deep roots in mysticism, reverence for nature, and gender equality. At that time, when women in other European societies were treated like nothing more than chattels, the position of women in Irish society was amazingly advanced. Irish women were full partners with their men. They were often warriors. They could serve as ambassadors to other countries. They were equal to men when it came to matters of property. Trial marriages were commonplace, and divorce was long established as a legal right. I'm not suggesting that it was a perfect society. They did have a few unseemly practices, like the occasional human sacrifice. But the point here is that since Rome never conquered Ireland, Ireland's culture was profoundly different from that of any of the holdings of the Roman Empire, including Britain. Now, Patrick, whose birth name was actually Maewyn Succat, being born in Britain, was a citizen of the Roman Empire. When he was a teenager, he was captured and enslaved and brought to Ireland. After 6 years, he escaped. He later became a priest and took on the name Patricius, which derives from the Latin for father figure. So here we are in the 5th century, and missionary Patrick shows up on the scene. He had a strong approach aimed primarily at the Druid class, and he made many converts. But at the same time, we have Bridget, a local girl. Her approach was much softer and did not oppose incorporating the many pagan beliefs into this Christianity. And so it is said that she was more successful in spreading the new beliefs among the masses. Thus, Ireland accepted the concepts of Christianity while integrating them into the existing pagan-based culture. So for hundreds of years, the now Christian Irish didn't pay much attention at all to the patriarchal bent of Rome. Marriage and property rights continued to follow the customs of Brehon law. In accordance with Celtic philosophy, female priests were able to celebrate the Mass just like male priests. Bridget herself was an ordained bishop. This incensed the sensibilities of the Roman Church. But the Irish culture moved on, marched on. And starting in the 6th century, Ireland's golden age began with the growth of monasticism. While the rest of Europe was wallowing in the Dark Ages, for 300 years in Ireland, there was a remarkable flourishing of art, literature, manuscript preservation, metalwork, and stone sculpture. Many historians believe that the great heritage of Western civilization, ranging from the Greco-Roman classics to Jewish and Christian works, would have been utterly vanquished were it not for the religious women and men of Ireland. Despite that, the popes still had their undies in a bundle about the Irish version of Christian practice. So in 1155, King Henry II of England, whose political agenda was to conquer Ireland, announced that he had received from Pope Hadrian IV, the only English pope, a document called Laudabiliter, which supposedly stated that King Henry was being invited by the Pope to invade Ireland and rule as its lord, to root out the weeds of vice amongst the Irish people who had supposedly steered away from the Catholic faith. The English conquest of Ireland was on. With that conquest, the patriarchal and hierarchical values of Rome eventually relegated women to the subservient position they had elsewhere in the European world. It is my personal opinion that that is the reason why St. Patrick's identity as Ireland's patron saint received primacy over Bridget, although in the past 20 years, she's coming into her own. So Patrick was now the guy in representing Irish Christianity. Then Christianity splintered. And when the Protestant Reformation happened, in large part, the Scotch embraced Presbyterianism, the Irish remained Catholic, and the English became Anglican. Soon, religion and politics became toxically intertwined. According to historian L. Perry Curtis, the English saw their Catholic neighbors as, quote, subhuman creatures in the racial hierarchy. And the oppression of Catholics was fierce. Now, everyone in Ireland was not Catholic. There was a minority of Scotch Protestant landowners, primarily in the north, who came upon their Irish property largely as grants from the English crown. Although like the English, the Scots were Protestant, not being Anglican, they had no political power, and they had to do things like pay tithes to the Anglican Church in England. They were not real happy with that. And many, seeking economic and religious freedom, migrated to the American colonies, where in large part they self-identified as Irish. By the time of our War of Independence, there were 250,000 Scotch-Irish in the American colonies. They were well-educated, industrious, skilled workers, and they did not have too much trouble assimilating. So getting to the celebrations. Boston stakes a claim as the first St. Patrick's Day celebration in the American colonies. On March 17, 1737, more than 24 Presbyterians who had emigrated from the north of Ireland gathered to honor St. Patrick's and formed the Charitable Irish Society to assist distressed Irishmen in the city. But that's not exactly a parade. Ironically, though, it was a band of redcoats who in 1762 started the tradition of America's largest and longest St. Patrick's Day parade, when homesick Irish-born soldiers serving in the British Army marched through Lower Manhattan to a St. Patrick's Day breakfast in a local tavern. Thus, here in the colonies, the St. Patrick's Day parade was born. Now, saints were not, to this point, in Ireland or anywhere else, celebrated by such things as parades. A saint's feast day was honored by going to church and partaking in a special meal. There's an Irish joke, a holy day is just like any other day, only duller. So this parade thing in the name of a saint was a strictly American invention. Meanwhile, back in Ireland, the Catholics were facing dire circumstances. With the establishment of a series of restrictions called the penal laws, starting in 1695, Catholics were not allowed to own property, or speak the Irish language, or play Irish music, or educate their children, or work in the professions, or join the army, or wear their traditional dress. And if a man was discovered to be a priest, he was killed on the spot like you would kill a rat going into the grain barn. Slowly, these laws were lifted, finally ending in 1840. But the prejudice and hatred toward the Catholics was firmly entrenched. And in 1845, when their only source of sustenance was wiped out by a fungus, they died by starvation and disease by the hundreds of thousands of people. Within 5 years, 1 million people died that way. Now think for a minute. Today in the United States, that would be the equivalent of losing 84 million people in 5 years. Imagine, it's unfathomable. I have to say an important historical tidbit here. There was no famine in Ireland. There was never a famine in Ireland. We call it the Great Hunger. There was a worldwide failure of a single crop due to a fungus. It affected the Irish so severely because it was the only food that they were allowed by their landlords to have access to. During the years of the potato crop failure, there was plenty of food in Ireland, but it was forbidden for the Irish Catholics to access it. Under armed guard, food convoys continued to export wheat, oats, barley, and livestock to the markets in England, while Ireland starved. Another 2 million either managed to leave or were forced to. And it's important to note, these people were not emigrating for better economic opportunity and greater freedoms. They were leaving their beloved country simply to stay alive. I see some parallels with what we see today in the world. When the Irish Catholics arrived in the port cities like Boston and New York, they had zero resources. And they found themselves in a society that completely hated them. Hated them for being immigrants, hated them for being Catholic, hated them for being a strain on their welfare budgets. They were stereotyped as lazy, dirty, violent, drunks, and were said to be rapists. Where do I see that parallel today? And conspiracy theories abounded. I have to share my favorite one. That the Catholic Irish were coming here by the hundreds of thousands, not because they were starving, but they were sent here by the Pope. Their mission is to overthrow the United States government and establish in its place a papal state to be headquartered in Cincinnati. As conspiracy theories go, that's right up there. So what do you do in that situation? You cling together with the only thing you have, your faith. You summon your courage. You trust in your active expression of hope. And you do what you must, believing that the dawn will come. They took the most menial and dangerous jobs, and they did what they needed to do to survive, which sometimes was not always the most honorable thing. And they kept their faith. And now, in a show of defiance, showing strength in numbers, their parades grew, marching to proclaim their pride in who they were. They were Irish, they were Catholic, and they were proud. And who represented that better than their holy hero, St. Patrick? And so rather than a devout display of reverence for a holy man, the parades morphed into a public demonstration of ethnic and religious pride. And that is how St. Patrick became such a big deal here in the United States. So where are we now? This year, the New York City St. Patrick's Day Parade had 150,000 marchers and 2 million spectators lined Fifth Avenue to watch that, was it 4.5-hour parade? To see it, yeah. There's information on that stuff on the back table. Now, we've heard the expression, everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. It's obvious that means different things to different people. Where that reflects joy and celebration, it is a lovely sentiment. I do have to acknowledge that, sadly, this proud celebration has become corrupted by the stereotype of the Irish as being violent and drunk. It is so insidiously incorporated into the American culture that many Irish Americans don't even recognize it for what it is. It's hurtful. And I pray that it dissolves sooner than later. So here we are, March 17th, 2024. What is its relevance today? Well, the more capitalism cashes in on it, with green milkshakes, green beer, green bagels, and furniture sales, the less relevance it seems to have. And since it is different things to different people, I can't speak to the relevance question universally. I can only speak to my hope for its relevance, which is that our celebrations are affirming and constructive. For me, St. Patrick's Day will always be a symbol of pride in being Irish. Pride to have survived hundreds of years of attempted annihilation. Pride to have survived political, ethnic, economic, and religious discrimination. Pride to have survived hatred. Not only to have survived, but to have flourished. Contributed greatly to the arts, science, literature, sports, and yes, even politics. Contributed to the evolution of cultures worldwide. That is worth celebration, enormous celebration. Now, since this is, after all, a church service, it requires a bit of reflection. Reflection which I hope advances our respect for the dreams and, yes, the pride of all oppressed people. BIPOC people, LGBTQ+ people, neurodiverse people, physically impaired people, immigrants. God bless us, everyone. So today, the 9.5% of Americans who boast Irish ancestry have every reason to celebrate themselves, and everyone else is invited to join in the fun. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll now have our hymn Rising Green, 1068 in the Teal Hymnal.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak. Her sap doth run through my veins. Boundless my soul, like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings of time without end. My sight as deep as the sea. Beating my heart sounds the measures of old, that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on as far as the sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
And now for the meditation.
There's some symbolism in that. She chose the least spiritual person to do this. This is For Belonging by John O'Donohue. May you listen to your longing to be free. May the frames of your longing be generous enough for your dreams. May you arise each day with a voice of blessing, whispering in your heart. May you find a harmony between your soul and your life. May the sanctuary of your soul
never become haunted. May you know the eternal longing that lives in the heart of time. May there be kindness in your gaze when you look within. May you never place walls between the light and yourself. May you allow the wild beauty of the invisible world to gather you, mind you, and embrace you in belonging. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Now the offering will be taken and gratefully received.
From Derry Quay we sailed away on the 23rd of May. We were taken on board by a pleasant crew bound for America. Fresh water then we had taken 5,000 gallons or more, in case we'd run short going to New York, far away from the Shamrock shore. So fare thee well, sweet Liza dear, and likewise to Derry town. And twice farewell to my comrades brave, who dwell on that sainted ground. If fortune it should favor me, and I have some money in store, I'll come back and I'll wed the wee lass that I left on the green Shamrock shore.
Now it is time to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. And our benediction is an ancient Celtic benediction. Deep peace of the running wave to you. Deep peace of the flowing air to you. Deep peace of the quiet earth to you. Deep peace of the shining stars to you. Deep peace of the Son of Peace to you. And now the postlude.
May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall softly on your fields. And until we meet again, may you keep safe in the gentle, loving arms of God. For everything there is a season, a time for meeting, a time to say goodbye. In all things, God is near, always guiding your way. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain fall softly on your fields, and until we meet again, may you keep safe in the gentle, loving arms of God. May you keep safe in the gentle, loving